Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, September 15th, 2020, and today is the second hearing of the month for the City of Tempe Hearing Officer. My name is Vanessa McDonald. I'm the hearing officer. Joining me today from Community Development are Shelby Meyer to my left and Drew Yoakum to my right. I'm going to read a couple things into the record and then we can get going on our agenda this afternoon. The City of Tempe Hearing Officer is authorized by Arizona Revised Statutes and the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code. The hearing officer has the duty to carry out the provisions and the intent of the Zoning and Development Code and also the Tempe City Code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings to decide upon the abatement of code violations occurring on properties within the City of Tempe. These violations include but aren't limited to deteriorated landscaping, inoperable vehicles, deteriorated structures, storage of junk or refuse, or deteriorated swimming pools. These abatement actions are brought before the hearing officer by the city's Code Compliance Division, typically after numerous attempts at contacting the property owner to obtain voluntary compliance with the code. On today's agenda, we have 6 items. We have a set of minutes from September 1st, 2020, and 5 property abatements. Agenda item number 7 has been brought into code compliance, so there's no need for the abatement of that property this afternoon. As the hearing officer, I review the Community Development Department report on the items being considered at this hearing. I use this report as part of my decisions. I also listen to the testimony provided by the code compliance officers today, photographs of the existing conditions of the site, as well as any public comment. Any property owner who is aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer may file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer has made a decision. The deadline for appealing any decision rendered today is 3 p.m. on September 29th, 2020. The property owner has 14 days to either file an appeal by that date or bring the property into code compliance. If neither of these things happen by this date, the property will be abated by the city. First item on our agenda, like I mentioned, is a set of minutes from September 1st, 2020. I had a chance to review those minutes when they were sent to me after the last meeting, and I believe that they accurately reflect what took place at that hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and approve the minutes from September 1st, 2020. Agenda item number 2 is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Gulseth property. This is located at 4406 South Stanley Place, and the applicant is the City of Tempe, represented by Julie Schofield this afternoon.
Good
Ms.
afternoon.
Schofield.
Yes, I'm here to ask for a 180 open day abatement for the property at 4406 South Stanley Place here in Tempe. This property has a vehicle that has been in the driveway unregistered for several months, and also has a small amount of grass and weeds in the gravel. As they have taken care of most of the landscaping, there is still a little bit in question. And these pictures were taken today, and you can see there's still just a small amount as far as the landscaping goes right here. The rest of the landscaping they took care of. And then there's also the issue with the vehicle. The plate was ran today, and it is still in fact unregistered.
Okay. What's been the dialogue with the property owner? I see this goes back to February. That's
Yes,
quite a while.
I have actually had no contact with the owner, only contact with someone who called and said they were managing the property, but they never actually fully took care of everything.
Okay. Never actually managed
Right.
the situation.
That is correct.
Okay. And 180 days because you just want to keep an eye on it?
Well, for the landscaping, for sure, and we know that this is a rental property, so in the event any other vehicles go unregistered or sit there for a great amount of times like this one has, then we can go ahead and take care of it.
Okay. Great. Drew, do we have anyone on the public or?
We have had no communication at this time from anybody.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I agree. It's a minimal amount of remediation that needs to take place, but nevertheless, you know, you've had no communication. They've done a little bit. They just have not done enough. So I agree with your assessment of the property and that it should be abated. So I'm approving agenda item number 2, the abatement contained in CE 201197.
Thank you.
Thank you. Third item on the agenda is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Mercer property. This is located at 2112 East Fremont Drive. And again, Ms. Schofield from Code Compliance is going to present the case.
Yes, this property is at 2112 East Fremont Drive, and I'm asking for an open abatement for 180 days as well. And this is for junk and debris in the front, sides, and backyard of the property, and also an unregistered vehicle. The tenant, who says he is the son-in-law of the owner, has done quite a lot of work on the property. However, when I went by today, it just still has a lot of room for improvement. That is the backyard of the property. There's another angle of the property, of the items being stored back there.
Yeah, compared to the pictures I'm looking at from July, you know, there has been an improvement, but still.
Yeah, and
quite a
he
ways to
did have
go.
a roll-off in the driveway at one time, but the efforts have seemed to cease, and so this is what was left as of today. And then there's also an unregistered vehicle in the driveway, and it has a temp tag, but it expired August 26th.
Okay. Okay, and is this a 180-day that you're
This-
asking for?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Mr. Yocum, do we have anyone on the line wanting to speak about agenda item number 3?
We've had no communication at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then, given the state of the property this afternoon and also what it was in July, tells me that there's probably not going to be much more of an effort made by the property owner to remediate this property. So I'm going to go ahead and grant the 180-day abatement request you're asking for in application CE 202303.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the DeRusso Young property. This is located at 2030 East Balboa Drive, and Michael Glab is here this afternoon for the Code Compliance Department.
Good
Mr.
afternoon.
Glab.
I'm Michael Glab, Residential Code Inspector for the City of Tempe, here this afternoon in reference to this property at 2030 East Balboa Drive. In January of this year, my office received a complaint related of junk and debris on this property. An inspection was conducted, and junk and debris piles were clearly visible stored in the back area of the property. The fence line for this property is right up against the sidewalk, so this type of house, it's sort of the backyard, but it could also be, I guess, the front yard. So looking over the RV gate, you could see debris piles amongst all the patio furniture in this yard. A follow-up, a notice was mailed, and then in February of 2020, emails were exchanged with Ms. Durosu, with each time she was stating that she would comply and remove the junk and debris. Follow-up inspections saw little to no change. Additional notices were mailed, and then a copy was posted to the structure itself. I then also emailed her a copy of the notice as well. In March of 2020, I found little to no change at the property. A notice was then posted to the structure. In May of 2020, I then issued her a citation. And then in June of this year, it would have defaulted with the Tempe City Courts and then been forwarded to collections. And then as of today, the stored items are still present there in the patio area. Unfortunately, I did take photos today, but due to tech issues, I'm unable to print them and provide them. Certainly, stuff has been moved around in that back patio area, but just for example, there was a computer monitor stored outside, piles of wood and debris, bags of cement. So it looks like there were door frames, like a sliding Arcadia door, but it wasn't attached to the house. It just was stored back there. So all these items have been moved around, but still present and in violation of junk and debris code.
So from the pictures that I'm looking at from March,
Mhm.
it's been shifted around but not actually removed.
Correct.
Is that an
Correct.
accurate statement?
The covered patio portion has a lot of items stored under there. It can't be used as really as a recreational or living area because there's so much stuff stored there. And then they have made the walkway in the middle more accessible, whereas everything's been shoved off to the east side fence line.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Yocum, do we have anyone on the WebEx?
Again, with this case, no communication at this time.
Okay,
So at this time, I'm sorry, I'm seeking a 180-day open abatement window for
okay,
this property.
sure. Understood. Well, this goes back 7 months, which is quite a long time. And it doesn't seem like the property owner is taking seriously their responsibility to remove items from this property. So I'm going to go ahead. I agree with your assessment that it needs to be abated. So I'm going to approve the 180-day open abatement contained in case CE 200492.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fifth item on our agenda is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the May Hall property. This is located at 2174 East Palmcroft Drive. Again, Mr. Glab.
Yes, in October of 2019, my office received a complaint for this property. Violations were observed at the property and notice was mailed to the property owners. In November of 2019, Mr. Mayhill spoke with my supervisor and was granted additional time to comply. Additionally, I also spoke with Mr. Mayhall and gave him additional time beyond what my supervisor had granted to him. Additional paperwork was given to Mr. Mayhall in person, providing a follow-up date for compliance. In January of 2020, the violations remained at the property and a notice was posted to the structure. In February of 2020, Mr. Mayhall contacted my office and requested an additional extension, which was granted. In March of 2020, the violations remained at the property, and yet Mr. Mayhall requested additional time beyond that. In May of 2020, the violations remained and a citation was issued to Mr. Mayhall and posted to the front of the structure. In June of 2020, additional violations were reported by an anonymous complainant to my office. The violations in question were observed in the backyard landscape of the property. Prior to June of 2020, the backyard wasn't mentioned at all as being part of the issue. In July of 2020, I received contact from the daughter of the property owner stating that she would help remedy the violations. And then in August of 2020, I observed that there was little to no change, and so I sought to resolve the matter via property abatement. I did inspect the property today and observed little to no change at the property. For example, in the backyard landscape, there's grass and weeds that are dead as tall as the trim of the house, so they're clearly visible over the fence line. There were appliances sitting in the middle of the backyard, like a washer or dryer.
Is there an airplane in this backyard?
There is a dismantled airplane on the back patio of the property. Unfortunately, at this moment in time, we don't believe that that's a violation of code, except for the possibility of being inoperable or unregistered and visible above the fence line.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, but this is a first to
Yes.
see an airplane
Yes.
in a backyard.
But yeah, junk and debris in the front yard. There's stuff stored throughout the entirety of the driveway, the front patio area, and then the possibility of inoperable or unregistered vehicles. For example, the SUV in the driveway has been displaying expired registration, I believe, since February of this year. And then at least 3 times here within like the last year and a half, the palms at the sidewalk have protruded out and provided an obstruction for pedestrians passing by. As it's the 3rd time that's happened, it seems to be a repeat thing that is not being maintained by Mr. Mayhall. So at this time, I'm seeking an open abatement period for 180 days.
Okay. Thank you. Zach, do we have anyone on the line?
We
talk
do
about
not.
this case?
No communication at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Well, if I could give you more than 180 days, I probably would, because I don't think this property owner really has any intention of keeping this property maintained to city code. But since I can only give you 180 days, I will give you that. So I agree with your assessment, and I approve your request contained in CE 196750.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last item on our agenda this afternoon is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the O'Connor property. This is located at 6818 South Terrace Road. Applicant is City of Tempe, represented this afternoon by Brandy Zedler.
Hi, Brandy Zedler, Code Inspector with the City of Tempe. I am here today concerning 6818 South Terrace. Our office, Code Compliance, received a complaint concerning this property in May for deteriorated landscape and drunken debris. I had sent a first and final notice to the property owner and received no contact whatsoever. This property actually was actually submitted to be on the hearing officer agenda in February, but she did clean up the property prior to the hearing. So I am back again with the same issues, which is for the landscape violations for the front and the back, and the junk and debris that's in the front are exactly the same issues that were going to be heard back in February. I've also received 3 new complaints since August 31st concerning the appearance and deterioration of the property. I did take some photos today. It looks like she has done a little bit of work on the landscaping, as you can see in this photo. But on the side yard, it seems that was ignored. There's still trash and weeds in that corner of the yard. This is another photo displaying that. And then she gathered a large amount of the items and are sitting there. I don't believe it's bulk pickup or anything like that. There was no other neighbors in the area that had anything displaying like it was going to be picked up. So in this case, it seems that there's more items now than there were back at the previous photos. This is the backyard today, looks in the same condition.
Yeah.
Really no change. Quite almost a fire hazard, really, at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if by chance, the bulk trash pickup should happen within the next week or so, then, that's fine, but if not.
While I was on vacation, there was some contact received from the daughter of the owner that apparently is living at the property. I did try contacting her today just to speak with her because I have not received any contact, and I left a voicemail and I have not received a phone call, and that was earlier today.
Okay,
So, but I am requesting an open day abatement for the next 180 days, as this seems to be a continuous failure to be able to maintain.
okay. Thank you. Mr. Yocum?
We have not received any communication at this time for this property.
Great, thank you. Then I agree with your assessment of the property, especially viewing the pictures today. So I'm going to grant your 180-day open abatement request for the property at 6818 South Terrace, contained in CE 203493.
Thank you.
Thank you. Drew, any?
Yeah, one announcement. The next hearing officer meeting will be held on October 6th here in the council chambers.
Okay,
That'll be at 5 p.m. and it can be viewed via Tempe 11 or WebEx.
okay, great. Thank you very much. I think we're adjourned. Thank you.